everybody, clinical nutritionist Keith Klein here. You know, one of the philosophies of sound weight loss for the long term is to understand that how you think determines how you feel. And where a lot of people start losing motivation is in the inner language or the self-talk that they use consistently over and over again. And sometimes it's what I refer to as stinking thinking. So just one tip here. If you start to focus in your relationship on what the other person is doing wrong, your relationship's going to go south pretty quick. And then once you start focusing on what they're doing right, the relationship begins to turn around and things start to feel good again. And it's rather interesting how we tend to do that with our eating quite often. When you have one bad meal, all of a sudden you become fixated, focused on, and that's all you can think about is the bad meal. And what you're really doing is you're focusing on the one thing you did wrong. What I want to encourage you to do is take your mind off of focusing on what you're doing wrong and start trying to focus more on what you're doing right. Because when you have that fundamental shift in your thinking and you start focusing on what you're doing wrong, we have a tendency to begin feeling down about the program. We start to move away from the program. We start to not like the program. And the interesting thing is, as soon as you start focusing on what you're doing right, it begins to build up a sense of self-esteem, empowerment, if you will. And as you start to focus more on what you're doing right, it tends to roll into a more enjoyable long-term approach to your program. So one big thing that you can do as you're trying to change your eating when you have a cheat meal is not become so fixated on the fact that you screwed things up. It will work a lot better when you ask yourself, well, what have I done right? Well, it could go something like this. You might find the fact that although I've had this cheat meal, I used to do that 3 days a week, and now I haven't done it for once in 2 weeks. Man, I'm doing a lot better. And that builds up your confidence in your ability to keep going. There's many different ways that you can find a way in which you're focusing on the right side of things, right? Maybe, although this time I had a bad meal, I didn't eat as much of it. So my advice for you today is to help you stay motivated for the long term, is try not to fixate and focus on what you're doing wrong, but rather ask yourself, what am I doing right? Because the more things like that you discover in what you're doing, the more empowered you become to keep on doing it. If you like this information and you want more, check out Lean Body Coaching. It's an online program, or watch the documentary Beyond Weight Loss.